Hello, how are we doing?
Good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Beautiful. I was like, how do I riff on the fact that we're all in the dark? Everybody, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. Thank you for joining us on a very, very dreary day outside. We appreciate that you're here with us tonight. I am your host, Grant Bowen. For those of you who have never been here before, this is, by the round of applause, how many people haven't been here before? All right. That makes me happy. Okay, great. So, for those of you who have never been here, this is a live storytelling show. We've got a great lineup of like 5 very beautiful, different storytellers who are gonna come up here and share with you true stories, all of this is true, from their middle school and high school years. These are stories about first dates, tests, drinking for the first time, learning to drive, and of course, coming of age. It's a really fun show. We're really happy you're here with us tonight. I'm gonna riff a little bit just to give any of our late seaters time to get in. As I say, we do this show month to month here at Under St. Mark's. A lot can happen in a month. For example, I just got married.
Wow.
Thank you. It was a great ceremony. You know, we had this beautiful ceremony at a yacht club in Cape Cod, and then we had a nice little mini moon at this hotel in Nantucket, and now I'm here telling stories in the basement with you guys. So it's been a lot of fun, and if I can take a minute to be sincere, you know, I found a woman who I truly love, who I am excited about spending the rest of my life with, and it means a lot to be able to stand in front of you and very earn the right to stand here and say, my wife, best reason to get married, guys. Best reason to get married. That movie came out in 2006 when I was in high school, and yes, that is the bullshit reason I came up with to transition from my wedding into the theme of our show. That's the top-rate entertainment you get here at Awkward Teenage Years. God, that movie, well, I remember that movie being huge when I was in high school. A lot of big movies came out during that time, like The Lord of the Rings, No Country for Old Men, Spider-Man, Borat, of course. One movie, though, became the absolute bane of my existence when I was in high school. And that was Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, okay, an appropriate amount of groans for Napoleon Dynamite, because I watched it for the first time and was just like, okay, bad, not laughing, whatever, moving on. And then very slowly, it was like a zombie virus that went through my school. Everyone was quoting it. Everyone was doing their John Heder impression. Everyone was wearing Vote for Pedro shirts, and it drove me insane. And I became like the unfortunate snobby kid going like, what am I missing? How does everyone think this movie is so funny? And now it's nice to be here and hear the collect. I feel like we're all reaching that age where we look back and we go, oh yeah, I liked that when I was a teenager, but it actually isn't that good. And I'm like, I knew the whole time. I knew the whole time. But it's, you know, I can relate. You are not alone in loving something that was actually bad. Because I was a kid who listened to Creed. I can admit it. I know. I can admit it. You know, you learn what good things are as you get older. And if I can admit I was wrong, so can anyone else. So with that, I'm going to transition into our show. Again, thank you guys so much for being our first storyteller. Thank you for that applause and my haphazard stand-up. Our first storyteller he's a storyteller, he's a creative director. He's been on stage at the Moth. He is making his second appearance here at Awkward Teenage Years. His first appearance was a rather infamous show where we had no working lights and no sound. We were standing on stage at the Crane, just yelling to the back of the house for a crowd of 3 people. So we're glad to bring him back for a completely different experience. Please welcome Jameer Pond.
Because I'm short, right? Okay. handsome young lad. Okay. So in the black community, nicknames are often bestowed upon you. Sometimes for really great, admirable things, sometimes for dumb shit. But it is most certainly a rite of passage. When I was 17, I had a nickname bestowed upon me. Cheeseburger was my nickname. And it wasn't for anything admirable. It was for some dumb shit. I got the name when I was unfortunately booed at a talent show my freshman year, first month in college. To be fair, the joke was really good. Like I was killing. I was killing with this. I was a stand-up at that point for 3 years. I had started stand-up comedy when I was 14. My mother took me down to the Gotham Comedy Club, and there was a program called Kids in Comedy. And I started doing stand-up because I wasn't athletic or anything like that. That was my basketball in high school. So I started traveling throughout New York, throughout the city, and really getting my reps up. And people were really entertained, like laughing, coming up to me, oh, you're gonna be the next Richard Pryor. You're so talented. And I was like, yeah, I am. So I kind of took that attitude with me and confidence and took it on the road to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, the first historically black college and university. And I was like, okay, when I get up here, I'm going crazy. I'm gonna be the king of comedy. So my first month there, I got there in August, my first month, September of 2006, I am seasoned in the game. Let me just say that. Happy to be alive, but seasoned. I got my opportunity. I saw an opportunity. It was a flyer in our student union building, and the flyer was for the Dumb Whack Talent Show. The Dumb Whack Talent Show. And I thought to myself, by looking at it, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to go here and do some stand-up comedy. And so I signed up. And I was so confident at the time because I was like, in my mind, like Jay-Z, I didn't have to write my routine down. Like, I just kind of memorized it and had fun on stage. And I was like, I'll do that for the next week. I'll just put it in my head and worry about other things. The things I was worried about was telling people about the show, actually convincing people I was funny because they didn't know. They didn't know about the cheeseburger joke, you know? And looking for an outfit. It's very big tradition in black comedy. You have to look good in order to perform. So I wasn't gonna wear like a big suit or leather like Eddie Murphy, but I specifically had this white and blue striped polo, very thick collar, some blue Levi jeans, and these white and blue Jordans that I hadn't wore yet, but I was saving, for a special moment, my comedy crown. So I spent the whole week just like not practicing, but like I got it. I've done this a whole bunch of times. I'm good. So the night of the show is a Friday. I waltz. I'm strolling to the sub, ready to get down, I was so cocky. I actually, there was like a camera crew recording all of the people. It was like very early freshman year, and they were going around videotaping the talent. So before I went on stage, they were like, would you like to say something? I said, of course I would. I said, my name is Jameer Pond, I'm from Brooklyn, and I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm gonna make Lincoln a lot of money one day. Wink. Literally gave a wink to the camera before I went on. You can see where this is going, right? Okay. So they call my name, I go up on stage, and I say, what's up, y'all? Very minimal response. So I said, okay, well, I gotta win the crowd over. I'm gonna win the crowd over. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take my strong joke, put it in the front so I could kick down the door and then ease I've been doing this 3 years. I know how this goes. So I tell this joke, and I'm gonna tell it. I came up with this when I was 15 years old, y'all. Just keep this in mind. All right, so I got on stage and I say, it's crazy, man. I don't know why comedians always start off with it's crazy, but I started it off like any other traditional comedian. This is crazy, man. I'm dating this girl back in Brooklyn, and she said, Jameer, in order to be with me, you gotta buy me earrings with the matching necklace. I looked at her like she was crazy. And here's the punchline, okay? Be prepared. I got $2.50 in my pocket. You better decide whether you want cheese on your burger or not. So it was even more quiet than this when I said it. Now, I had never experienced that before. Never had the pleasure of just a deafening silence. But for 6 seconds, I could see everybody's face. People looked horribly displeased, not entertained, and turned their body away from me in a matter of 6 seconds. And then someone broke the silence by standing up in the middle of the crowd and yelling, "Boo!" and sitting back down. At that point in time, droves of people now at the talent show. "Boo, boo, you not funny, get your ass off the stage." Really, I had never experienced that kind of pain. I'm from Brooklyn, right? I'm no punk. I didn't run off stage, but I like jog off stage in embarrassment. And I remember going straight to my room. I didn't come out for 3 days. It was Friday, I didn't come out for 3 days. I'm pacing back and forth, crying, mad, like, oh my God, they don't get my art. They don't get my art, man. That was funny. Everybody thought that was funny. And I called my cousin Dion, who had been to all my shows in the city, heard me curse for the first time on stage. I called her, I was just like, Dion, they didn't understand it, they didn't get it. And she was like, well, what did you open with? And I was like, the cheeseburger joke. And she said, I could have told you not to open up with that. You should call me. I said, why? She said, I'm going to give you some game. The first thing she told me was that I can't phone it in. This is my art. I love it. I love being on stage. I love talking to people. It's my art. She said, you didn't take time to read the room. You didn't take time to prep. You didn't take time to work on new material about school. She said, what was you doing? I said, trying to look cute. For the women, I'm going to look cute for the women. And she was like, well, that's when you messed up. She said, number two, had you ever performed in front of an all-black audience before? And I said, no. I was so used to performing in front of mixed crowds, predominantly white, so the people who were coming to tell me that I was the next Richard Pryor really were impressed, by my comedy at that time. And, a little bit of slavery. We know America. We know America. But it was a completely different crowd. She said, black people, if they're going to spend money on you, it's an investment. That $5 could go towards so many different things. You did a disservice to yourself by not reading the crowd. And I said, okay. And so we got off the phone, and I stayed in my room for 3 days. And the third lesson that I learned was when I left finally to go to class on Monday. And I'm walking through the quad to get to my class, and I hear from behind me, yo, cheeseburger! Cheeseburger. It was a long distance. I didn't, something told me to turn around, and I turned around, and someone was like, that's the dude that's not funny, right there, him. And the third lesson I learned was that black people in the black community bestow nicknames upon you. Sometimes it's for admirable shit, and sometimes it's for dumb shit. And I had the fortune to be called Cheeseburger for an entire year Most of those kids who called me Cheeseburger were kicked out next semester, thank God. But there are some few that still remember me as Cheeseburger, and I'm thankful for that. I'm Jameer Pond, aka Cheeseburger. Thank you.
It's crazy, man.
Right? That's crazy, man.
You said it, I'm like, I have to do it. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about like thickening your skin pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. I gotta say though, in terms of like comedians having looks and everything, both shows you have come to, you've looked great.
Oh,
Like,
thank
you
you.
had a really good ensemble.
I've learned.
Yes.
Yeah, for prep and in dress.
Oh man, although I will say, you brought it up, if you do want to show up in like one of those leather Eddie Murphy suits, this is the show to do it. One more time for Jameer. I'm just thinking of all those brutal kids just, I mean, I grew up in a very polite white
Yeah.
like environment. Although now that you mentioned it, the black kids were the ones more often than not just going like,
Yeah, like you gotta earn it.
oh, you gotta earn it, right? Our next storyteller is a sweetheart. He's a storyteller, he's an actuary, he's a lifelong bird watcher. He is also a return guest on the show, only he goes even further back. When we started this during the pandemic, we were doing this as a live stream on Twitch, and now we finally get to have him here in the flesh with us tonight. So give it up for Phil Sugar.
All right. Oh yeah, that's me. And you can tell that was taken between the ages of 13 and 16 because I didn't know how to open my eyes or smile in photographs. I don't know what happened to me. 12 years old, no problem, big smile. 13, I'm like, how do you do that thing with your mouth? That's when they always took the picture. And there were some other things I didn't know. I was at summer camp. How did people get best friends at summer camp? I was 16 and I still didn't know. It was my 4th year at summer camp. Did people know each other before they went to camp? Did they meet each other there and somehow in only 3 weeks they were best friends already? I was 16. I was making up a Dungeons and Dragons game at camp that I was planning to play by myself. I was gonna be the character and the dungeon master. And I was used to it. And one of the little 10-year-olds came up to me, a little messy-haired kid named Daniel, and he said, "You're playing D&D? Give me an adventure." And I said, "Oh, I sort of wanted to play this by myself. I was expecting to, And he's like, "Come on, give me an adventure." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So originally my adventure was going to be about birds fighting each other. I didn't think he'd find that too interesting, so I changed it. I put in things that I thought he'd find fun, like monsters based on counselors. The dungeon was the cafeteria, and it turned out we had such a great time. We laughed and laughed, and we started doing this every day. We would skip activity periods and just go off together and play the adventure. That's what we called it, the adventure. That was our original creative name for it. And we started hanging. He liked to just play all kinds of games too. And I put puzzles into the adventure and he'd solve them. He was really smart. One time we were playing Stratego outside on the playground. Now Stratego is a board game. It's an army game where each player has 50 pieces and you have to deduce what your opponent has and remember where all the pieces are. And we were playing outside. We were using the playground slide as a table. Like I was kneeling in front of the slide, the board was on the slide, and Daniel was perched up on the slide looking down because he was little, he could fit up there. He was cute. And you'd think since I was 6 years older than him, I'd be winning, but no. My so-called army is down to its last few pieces. Daniel's moving in for the kill. But I'm not complaining. I'm getting beaten by a 10-year-old, but I'm not saying anything because I'm thinking this is why he likes playing with me. Because, the other little kids, you beat them at anything, they throw a tantrum, but not me, I'm mature. And as I'm thinking this, I just happened to put my elbow down, and the board was sticking out from the edge of the slide a little bit, and it went flying! All of a sudden the pieces were everywhere, and a board flew over, and I'm picking up pieces, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Daniel, you were winning, you're ahead, you were winning. I'm picking up pieces now, I'm apologizing to him. I don't even want to turn around, because he's not saying anything, and I'm like, I blew it. I finally had a friend, and now he's never going to want to play with me again. And I'm like, I finally picked up all the pieces, and I turn around to look at him, and he's standing there like this, and I realize he's trying not to laugh. He's not saying anything, he's just trying not to laugh. And then when I saw that, we both started cracking up. And it was just so relieved that he wasn't mad at me. But I tell you, he was a mature kid, and he looked up to me. And even though he only came up to my waist, he looked up to me too. And then he's like, let's play again. He's like, let's play again. I'm like, cool. And he's like, Phil, you should stop saying cool so much. And he was right, I said it every 10 seconds. And he's like, I'm like, I can't stop saying it, I always say it. He's like, yes you can, I'll help you. I'll point out when you say it, and then you'll start to notice when you're about to say it, and then you'll stop saying it. And I knew exactly what to say to him right then. I said, cool! And he laughed and laughed. He laughed and laughed. But he kept his word. He really kept on me about that cool thing all summer. And by the end of the summer, I was cool free. He did it. And I really need a 10-year-old like him today, because I say the word cute every 10 seconds. If anyone knows someone who can help me. So that's me and Daniel. Can we show the picture of me and Daniel? Let's see again, sorry, that's my best picture I have of us. I even ruined that. And I'm telling you, if I couldn't make him laugh, I don't know why he would put up with me. I really don't. But we did laugh a lot. We'd always sit next to each other at meals, and Daniel would play with his food. He'd take a piece of bread and poke holes in it, and then hold it up and look at me like this, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll show you. And I took my own bread and made my own little mask out of bread, and then we'd giggle at each other through the bread masks, and the counselors would be like, you should set a better example for the little kids. And I'm like, I'm protecting against COVID. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say anything, but we were friends. I think that was setting a good example. So, we had our fun. But the bread thing, it was kind of sad too, because Daniel was a very finicky eater. All he ate was bread, that's why we'd play with it. And one time, we were at dinner, and we all had our food. Daniel had a slice of bread, and the counselors started giving him crap about it. They were like, you have to eat something healthy, you can't just eat bread all the time. And Daniel was like, but everything else has tomato sauce, I don't like tomato sauce. And the counselors were like, but you have to eat something else, you can't just eat bread. And then Daniel got quiet. And I looked over at him, and I saw he was crying. And I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in this situation before. I wanted to say something. I wanted to comfort him, say something to comfort him. And so, I put my arm around his shoulder, but I couldn't think of anything to say. And meanwhile, the counselors are still yelling at him. They're still they don't even care that he's crying. And I wanted to say something to them too, just defend my friend against it, but I couldn't think of anything to say. And I was sitting there like a dope, like this, and just sad and ashamed and embarrassed. And I didn't even want to face Daniel. How could I not defend my best friend at camp? And I just wanted to get out of there, and so I did something very bad. I volunteered to clear the dishes from the table, and I left Daniel alone. And he probably thought I thought he was stupid for crying, but no, I was just so sad about the whole thing. I'm just so ashamed of myself. But I couldn't run away because we always played the adventure after dinner. So, when I was done clearing the plates, Daniel and I kind of approached each other. And then he said, it's not my fault, Phil. I think food tastes terrible. And he's looking up at me. I have to say something to my friend. I don't know what to say. all I could think of to say was, I value your opinion. And then he gave me a big hug, and I realized I must have just said exactly the right thing somehow. I don't even know why it was the right thing. I was so relieved to have my friend back. And then we went out and played, and like nothing happened, but I was still sad about it for a long time after. And it was getting now to the end of the summer, and my camp always had a big award ceremony at the end of the summer. And I told Daniel, in the 4 years I've been at this camp, I've never won an award. And he said, you deserve one. But I'm like, there's no way I could really get one because you have to be voted for the awards, and like no one really knew who I was. So we got to the award ceremony. Once again, it's frustrating. You have to listen to the names of 100 campers who all did stuff and like got voted for things, and it gets to the end, and of course no award for me, and now I'm grumpy. And we're getting ready to go back to our bunks and pack up our stuff, when Daniel takes out a piece of paper from his pocket, and he hands it to me, and he says, this is for you, Phil. And I unfold the piece of paper, and there's a drawing of him and me with stars all around it, and it says, award for being the greatest friend. Thank you.
Wow.
Just breaks your heart. Just breaks your heart, dude. That's so sweet. I can relate to Daniel a little bit because when I was a kid, I was a bit of a picky eater too. Like I couldn't eat certain things in the school cafeteria. I didn't even want to look at certain foods because it would make me nauseous and everything. And now here I am at 34, and I just found out that my cholesterol is concerningly high. So things can change. You can get better. So one more time for Phil. Okay, I'm going to read this next one in this next intro because there's a lot I want to get right. Our next storyteller, she has lived more than half her life in New York City, but she has always been a die-hard Boston Red Sox fan. She is a Moth Slam winner. She appeared on PBS's Stories from the Stage. Next weekend, she will be in Mostly True Things in Port Jefferson. Oh, along with Jameer. Jameer will be with you too. Yes. So if you want to see them again, that's where they'll be. And at the end of June, she's in Every Family's Got One. That's a great title. At the Southampton Cultural Center. We're excited to have her here at Our Teenage Years. Please welcome Ronna Levy.
I'm sitting in a bar in Chi-Chi's in Santa Monica, and I'm waiting for my old friend Randy. Now, I haven't seen Randy in over 20 years since we left high school, and I'm a little nervous, and I'm wondering if I'll remember her or know what she looks like. Now, Randy is my very first BFF. I meet Randy in the first grade. I have just moved to Boston from New York, and I don't know anybody, and I don't have any friends, and we're all in the cafeteria, all the first graders, we're waiting to go on the bus to go home. And I see this little girl, another first grader, and she's staring at me, and I don't like that she's looking at me, and all I want to do is go home, and I'm like on the verge of tears, and I'm looking at her, and I see that we are wearing the exact same coat. It's a faux brown suede coat with a leopard print collar. Only Randy is wearing the matching faux brown suede beret with a leopard print pom-pom. And I'm looking at that, and I'm wearing this blue and white hat that my mother got me that like ties under the chin like a baby hat. And I'm looking at her, and it looks so pretty, and I wish that I had that hat, and I wish she wasn't looking at me. And she comes over, and she says, "Hi, my name is Randy. You want to come to my house sometime and play jacks?" And by the next week, my mother's driving me over to her house, and we play jacks, we play chutes and ladders, we ride our bike, we end up going to day camp together, we go to Hebrew school together. And Randy tells me that when she grows up, she wants to be a folk singer and move to Hollywood. So of course, when I grow up, I want to be a folk singer and move to Hollywood. And Randy takes guitar lessons, and I take guitar lessons. Only my parents make me quit after a year and take piano lessons. So when there's this talent show in town, Randy is playing the electric guitar, and she's wearing a mini skirt and go-go boots, and she is singing Good Lovin' by the Young Rascals. And I am just looking at her, and I am wearing an orange plaid skirt with an matching orange sweater and my penny loafers, and I am playing a song from the Little Fingers Learn to Play songbook. And I'm looking at Randy, and she's in that mini skirt, and I feel like that baby. And I tell my parents that I don't want to go on, I don't feel good, and they know that I'm faking it, and they make me go on, and I'm just mortified. But Randy's still my friend. And in middle school, we start doing musicals. And the first musical we do is West Side Story. Now, I make a great Anita. Randy wants to be Anita, so I want to be Anita, and I practice and I sing and we go to the auditions, and I'm not Anita. Randy is Anita. And I am cast in the ensemble, which is code word for loser. Because I get to stand on the stage and I get to watch Randy sing and dance, and I'm not doing anything. When we get to high school, football is really, really big in my town. And I want to be a cheerleader, and Randy wants to be a cheerleader. And so I practice my jumps and my routines, but I'm not a cheerleader. Randy's a cheerleader. And after the football games, we all hang out at the Dairy Queen, and there's Randy, and she's in her little, cheerleading skirt with her spray tan legs and the bright white crew socks and the bright white sneakers, and she's always got a bunch of guys around her, and she's smoking her Marlboro Reds, and I'm just standing there, and I'm eating a vanilla soft serve. After high school, Randy and I kind of lose touch. And I go off to the state school, I become a teacher, and I hear that Randy has dropped out of college, which I wish my parents would have let me done that. She dropped out of college and she moved to Hollywood. And she's playing the guitar and she becomes a Playboy bunny, which is not something that I want to do. And she's doing, and she's in a teen movie. And I go see the movie. And there she is. She's on the screen, and she's around this campfire with these three cute guys and these two other girls, so I guess they're like all couples, and she's playing the guitar, and she's singing, and I'm looking at her, and I see she's wearing like long pants and a blouse, and the other girls are like in little shorts, and I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden, I become like 13, and I'm like, she's gained weight since high school. I lost weight since high school. That's like a lot of good it did me, because I'm sitting in the dark audience sipping a Diet Coke watching her on the screen. And I'm thinking, man, she's doing it. She's living the life that I thought I was going to live, that we were going to live together. She's in Hollywood. She's singing. She's in a movie. So here I am. I'm sitting in the bar, and I'm waiting for Randy, and I'm looking at myself. And I'm wearing like a t-shirt and jeans, and I'm like, I feel like I'm wearing that baby hat again. Like I'm in that orange, skirt. I just feel all wrong, but I can't go home and change. And I'm looking at the door, and there she is. And she's walking in, she's all confident, and she's wearing a skirt, suit, and heels, which isn't exactly what a folk singer would wear, but okay, what do I know? And I'm all nervous, and so the first thing I say is, hey, you want to go have a cigarette? Because I'm smoking now. And she says, no, I'm quit. I'm like, damn, I'm finally doing something that Randy does, and she's not doing it anymore. And so we catch up. And I ask her about singing, and she tells me that she's not singing anymore. She is now a financial planner. She plays golf every weekend, and she met a guy on one of her plane trips back east to visit her mother, and she's moving back east to be with him. I've just moved out here to Hollywood to live my life, to do what she's doing, and she's a financial planner, which I don't even know what that is. She plays golf, which I don't want to play, and she's moving back east. I don't even know what to think, but we finished the evening, We go out to the parking lot, we say goodbye, we make this plan that we're gonna meet again, which I know is never gonna happen because she's moving away. And she drives away in her green Mercedes. And I get into my little red rebuilt Honda and I light that cigarette. And I'm just thinking, man, ever since the first grade, I have wanted to be Randy. I have wanted her life. But I don't want that life. A financial planner, golf, moving back east. I don't want that. And I don't even know what to think. And it's not till 16 years later, when I moved back to New York, and I settle into my teaching job, and I reconnect with my boyfriend, that I finally understand that I'm living the life that I'm supposed to live. My life. Thank you.
Hit home.
Yeah.
That one's like I am an actor and a theater kid and everything. I moved up here to pursue that career originally, and it's tough to make friends who have the same dreams as you but are more successful. It's because there's that part of you that, because I've met people and I've had friends who are like now working in TV and have been on Broadway, and of course there's the part of like, oh my God, that's so exciting. I'm so happy for you, and there's that part of your brain that's just going, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Yeah, I guess Hamilton's cool if that's your That's cool. I'm doing good. I'm telling stories in the basement. One more time for Ronna Levy. Oh man, okay, I got another intro here that I want to make sure I get right here. So, our next storyteller, she is a sex health educator and a community creator. She is a Moth Story Slam and a Moth Grand Slam winner. She has been a main stage storyteller at the Moth. She now works at the Moth as the program manager of education engagement, sharing the art of storytelling with awkward teens everywhere. We are so excited to have her back. Please welcome Devin Wilson.
I'm on my back, in bed, on the bottom bunk of my childhood bedroom, and I have the covers pulled up all the way over my head. I have this cute little floral romper on, and it has bright green flower-shaped buttons that run up and down the middle of it, and the top buttons are undone. I'm 8 years old, and I'm not alone. Next to me is Mark, a neighborhood friend, and some of his buttons are undone too. We're playing doctor, except for we never really called it that. We didn't listen to each other's heartbeats or take each other's temperatures. What we did do was kiss and touch each other a little. And just to make sure that we weren't completely suspicious, we kept the door wide open for the adults who were very much at home. And when we heard footsteps coming up the stairs, we popped our little heads out up from under the covers, very unsuspicious-like. And when my dad turned the corner and saw us, he said, "Little boys and girls shouldn't be in bed together." I don't know what your sex educations were like, but mine was a mishmash of inadequacies. We know about, puberty and young boys and how their sexual appetites grow. We hear about wet dreams and search histories and nasty-ass socks under the bed, but no one really talks about sexual discovery for girls. So, sit tight. You're welcome in advance. Let's do a quick summary of my sexual education history, shall we? So, soon after playing doctor with Mark, he told me that he saw his parents doing it and that his mom was on top. Got it, woman on top. And then 3 years after that, my mom signed us up for a mommy and me sex education class where they taught us about periods, and I had to take care of a little baby egg. Got it. And that was like the extent that my mom and I talked about anything. In my family, we didn't talk about money or politics or sex. So, periods and egg. And then middle school, 7th grade, one day after band practice, I'm hanging out, and one of the cool girls, cool for band, relative, one of the cool girls makes a joke, and she says the word masturbation, and everyone around is like laughing, and I'm like, oh, so funny. I don't know what that means. And so then a year later, I'm 13, I'm watching television, and this commercial comes on for Hanes underwear for women. Very basic, like the 6-pack you can get at Target or Walmart, whatever. But it's bikini cut, that kind of like a little triangle in the front and a little triangle in the back, and it's just got like a string that connects them. And I saw that at 13 and thought, sexy. But the problem was I only had little girls briefs, right? Like purple with kitties on it, or like bright pink with little piggies. And those, not sexy. So I got in front of my full-length mirror and I rolled my underwear up at the sides to make it as skimpy as possible, and the pressure felt nice. It felt really nice. And that's how I discovered masturbation. To this day, my family thinks that teenage Devin just really loved super long showers. What she loved was that the bathroom door had a lock on it. And I would get in the shower and I would just, do what I had learned to do and experience that feeling of just like warmth and like sparks radiating through my entire body, down through my legs, into my toes. It was fabulous. But also, the pleasure came with a little bit of loneliness. I didn't know if this was normal. I didn't know if other people were doing this. It felt like a secret. No one had talked to me about it. No one was talking about it. And if it's a secret, that means it's shameful. So whenever I would get the urge to have these long showers, I would, be excited about it, but also feel some shame. And that dance between pleasure and shame coexisted, one never really overcoming the other, until I got to college. Isn't she cute? She has no idea. So in the first couple of weeks, I'm getting adjusted. I moved out of my parents' house into the dorms, University of Southern California, sunshine, palm trees, things are great. I go to a freshman mixer and I lock eyes with a cute boy. He's got caramel skin and a big mane of locks. We chat, and his name is Michael, and he's a jazz musician, and we're both like a little soft-spoken and shy, but we flirt and exchange phone numbers. And then a couple weeks later, we go on a date. First part of the date, either dinner in the dining hall or like a movie at the student union, I don't remember. But the second part started at the front door of his dorm room. He opens the door and we go inside, and typical dorm room, 2 twin beds, 2 armoires, 2 desks, and it's just the 2 of us. He closes the door behind us and we start kissing and like sort of touching each other, a little bit timid, but it's sweet and nice. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And then we start going out a little bit more, and now we're like making out and leaning against the bed. And my head is like, I have no idea what's happening, but it feels nice, so we're just gonna see. And then all of a sudden, just as we're like really getting into things, we hear the jingling of the keys at the door, and Michael goes to the door very quickly to intercept his roommate before the door swings open. And I can't hear what they're saying, but very soon we are alone again and the door is closed. So now I am finally alone in a room with a lock, a boy, and a bed. We go at it. We're on the bed. We are horizontal, people. We are horizontal, okay? And we're both still fully clothed, and I am on top. And we're making out and touching, and we're grinding a little bit, and it's feeling really good, and my brain is like, oh my gosh, is this what it's supposed to feel like? This is so exciting. I'm just gonna like lean into the pleasure of it. This is so, so good. And this next part happens all within 30 seconds, keep that in mind. So then we keep making out, and I'm having a great time. I'm not even thinking about things, just allowing myself to feel pleasure, and it happens. All of a sudden, real quick, before I even know what's happening, that very familiar warm feeling that I used to get in the shower is coming through down my legs, into my toes, all through my body, and I am freaking out. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. not from the pleasure, but because I don't think this is supposed to be happening so soon. I am still fully clothed. We didn't even get down to anything really, pun intended. Like, how is this happening already? And so I am freaking out, right? And there's like a war between these two, they're dancing again, right? The pleasure is like, oh, this feels so good. Is this what it's supposed to feel like? It's finally, somebody else is making this happen for me. And then the other part, which is like, I've never had this happen with somebody else. Again, fully clothed still. I don't think this was supposed to happen so soon. I don't know. I have no idea. And so in my mind, I'm just sort of like, okay, here are the options of what we can do. We can either tell him what happened, or we can pretend like nothing happened, or we can just pop up, say, gotta go, and run away. And so finally, in the dance, Shane won out, and we popped up, said, gotta go, and ran away. Just left the dorm room and said nothing else, and did a very different walk of shame home. Y'all, women are out here faking orgasms left and right, and there I was faking having one. My goodness. On this walk home, I just felt so alone and ashamed and sort of like, I don't know what is normal. I didn't know what was okay. I didn't know if I could have this sort of very vulnerable conversation with someone that I had just been on a date with. I had all these feelings, and no one to talk to about them. I felt more alone than ever. And Michael was very sweet. He called me a few times after that and texted, and I let him come over to my dorm room once, but I felt so uncomfortable. And there was one thing that I did know was, if men come over to your room at night, that means they want one thing. So I told him I couldn't see him anymore. I don't remember what reason I gave, but I know whatever it wasn't the truth. Because at the time, I didn't know that I could have these sexual feelings and not feel badly about them, let alone enjoy them. But I do now. So if I could tell 18-year-old horizontal Devin anything, it would be, tell him what happened, baby girl. He'll be into it too. Thank you.
Yeah, that's we tend to have a feedback session before the show, like it's optional for people to kind of work out their stuff, and we've had plenty of sex stories on this show before, but very few as thoughtful as and introspective as that and everything. That was wonderful. Growing up Southern Baptist, I can relate to the shame. It's a big part of it. So my sex education was my dad walked up to me when I was 13, hands me a book, goes, read where I've bookmarked. If you have any questions, let me know. And it was a copy of James Dobson's Preparing for Adolescence, where it's clearly like, this is the chapter to show your teenager, where it gave the talk, explained what sex was and everything, and ended with, but God doesn't want you to do it. And I'm like, I'm not going to ask my dad a question about any of this. The last thing I want to talk about. Oh, God. One more time for Devin. All right. How are you guys doing? Are you having a great time so far? Thank you. All right. So before we get to our last storyteller, we got a little bit of internal housekeeping to take care of here. As I said at the beginning of the night, we do this show every month, first Thursday of the month, right here at Under St. Mark's. We are constantly looking for new guests to have on the show. We like if you heard something tonight and you think, oh, I've got a story like that, or you know what, that makes me think of this thing that happened to me when I was a teen. Feel free to send us an email with like a 2 or 3 sentence pitch to awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We are always checking, always looking. We've had people on the show who have never told a story before, which is why we have those feedback sessions so that we can help people mold and shape it into something great. We're on all
these social media platforms. This is all we have the bandwidth for, and we don't even really have the bandwidth for Twitter. I'll just tell you that right now. But you can follow us on Instagram at Awkward Teenage Years. We're on Facebook at Awkward Teenage Years, and we're on Twitter at Teen Years. If you like the show, give us a follow. That's where we'll post updates about when the next show is. And also, we keep a pretty extensive video archive of each of the shows that we've done. Again, we've been doing this since early 2020. And we have most of the shows, except for the broken one, archived on YouTube. So just search Awkward Teenage Years, subscribe, you'll find our videos on there. So thank you guys so much. Let's get to our last storyteller of the night. She hails from Boston. She was here last time, back in February for the Frigid Festival with her one-woman show Driver's Seat, which won the Audience Choice Award and had a sold-out run. So like this, but more. She will be performing it again at the end of this month as part of the Queerly Festival over at the Crane. Please welcome Ellie Brelis.
My dad is filming me to capture my reaction as I'm opening up a large Pampers diaper box with a shipping label from Portugal. I'm not sure what I was expecting to find as I opened up this box, but it definitely wasn't this. A framed portrait of me at my junior prom, with my date cropped out of a painting. It was a very generous and unexpected gift, not from my grandfather, but from his girlfriend, Jill, who actually painted it herself. My grandfather and Jill live in Europe, and I've known Jill since I was in like 3rd grade, so they came over in 2003 so we could finally meet Jill. And at the time, my grandmother was dying of cancer, and apparently, Jill rang the doorbell, I opened the door, and said, "If my grandma dies, you'll be all I have left." So, clearly, I was a really chill kid, and by that I mean clearly I wasn't. I have a pretty serious mental illness, and when I was in elementary school, I had no idea how to control my symptoms. So I had a lot of tics, like counting and tapping and repeating myself aloud in even numbers. And no surprise, but people thought I was kind of weird. So I switched schools in 6th grade, and things were better, but I still had a hard time making friends, which really wasn't all that surprising considering how poor I was at reading social cues. But it kind of just sucked, because all I really wanted was to have plans on the weekends with friends. I was feeling kind of desperate for friendship, so one day I thought to myself, you know who else is desperate for friendship? Old people. I have always loved old people, and they've always loved me, as you can tell from this portrait I was gifted. They didn't think I was annoying like everyone else my age thought I was. They thought I was an old soul, which is a really nice way to say, wow, kids your age must fucking hate you. So, in 7th grade, I called up the local nursing home and I was like, hey, you need a volunteer? And they were like, I guess so. So it's my first day, my boss is showing me around and I'm standing in this outdated living room. And then I see her, an old woman who stole my heart the second we made eye contact. She used a tripod walker that had a deep pouch. Out of that pouch popped a stuffed animal giraffe, and around its long neck were her keys on a pink keychain. I saw her, and I knew. I just knew. This is gonna be my old person. Her name was Frances Giannani. I actually had plans on the weekends now. Every Saturday, I would wake up, go downstairs, take my osteoporosis medication, because yes, I did have osteoporosis at the age of 13, play Guitar Hero for half an hour, and then walk to the elderly home and check with my boss and do odd jobs around the home. But after I had finished all my tasks, I would always make my way to Frances's room and we would shoot the shit. Turns out, we had some things in common, like our osteoporosis medication. She was from Virginia and had a thick southern accent, and every Saturday she would ask me, "You courting anyone yet?" And I'd always say, "No, Frances, I'm 13. We would go for walks in the garden and drink iced tea on the porch, and almost every Saturday we would eat grilled cheese sandwiches together for lunch. There were a bowl of mints in the center of the table, and when no one was looking, Frances would take the whole thing, dump it into the pouch of her walker, and go, "Shh, don't tell." Fast forward 2 or 3 years, it's the summer going into my sophomore year of high school, and I'm visiting with Frances one more time before I go on vacation with my family to Martha's Vineyard, as I did every summer. She's sitting in a rocking chair on the porch, watching cars go by, and I'm holding her hand, and I'm saying goodbye, and she squeezes my hand and goes, "Oh, I wish you could just stay here with me all summer. We would get into so much trouble, you and me." Oh, I know we would, Frances. So I leave for the summer, and in the early fall, I walk back to tell Frances all the juicy details of my summer and who my newest crush was. I got to the elderly home, check in at the front desk, and announce I'm here to see Frances, and all of their faces just drop. "Oh, no one told you? She's not here anymore." What do you mean she's not here? Is she dead?" "No, but we can't tell you because you're not family." Somehow, someone, somewhere got the okay to tell me what had happened, and apparently, Frances took a serious decline over the summer and had to be moved to a full-time care facility further outside of the city. So one Saturday, my mom drove me 30 minutes away so I could visit with Frances again. I got there, and I got to Frances's room, and I don't think she could see very well at this point, so I walked in and I said, "Frances, I'm here! It's me! I found you!" And she goes, "Who?" And I go, "It's me, Ellie. I visited with you every Saturday at your old nursing home, and we would eat grilled cheese sandwiches together and steal mints from the dining room and drink iced tea on the porch when it got hot." And I tried to remind her of all these magical moments we had together. And she looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry, dear, but I just don't remember who you are." And I took a deep swallow, and I found my breath. And just as I was about to open up my mouth and say, "Well, that's okay," she opened hers and she said, "But it sounds like we were great friends. And if you'll let me, I'd love to become great friends again." So I sat with her, and eventually she fell asleep, and I left, and I cried in the car ride home. Because even though she was still alive, I had lost a really good friend. And that was the last time I saw her. It wasn't because I didn't want to see her, but her new care facility was so far away, and I didn't drive. I was in high school now, and my classes were more demanding, and for once it seemed like I was actually starting to make friends my own age. Friends who didn't share an osteoporosis diagnosis. But friends who, like Frances, found my stories, my neuroses, and my ability to talk for 30 minutes straight funny, or at the very least tolerable. But what really changed was that now when I was having a conversation with someone, I asked them questions too, and I listened to the stories they wanted to share with me. And I learned that the more I listened, the more people wanted to engage with me. I even did end up getting courted by someone, as Frances would always ask. I met a boy who would end up being the first person I ever fell in love with, the boy who is cropped out of this stunning portrait. And soon, my Saturdays became consumed with him. And I remember the first time I saw him playing soccer after school. It felt like the first time I saw Frances. I saw him, and I just had this feeling that he and I were going to be really important to each other someday. And he was smart and sweet and funny and popular and so handsome. And sometimes I'd wonder to myself, why does he like me? And then I'd remember Frances and think, Frances saw the good in me. And yes, she was lonely, but she had no obligation to befriend me. She taught me that being in someone's life is always an active choice. And while my circle in high school was still small and sometimes turbulent, I chose those people, and they chose me back. And even though sometimes I questioned why they did, I finally knew that I was worth choosing. Because I didn't just choose Francis. Francis chose me too. Thank you.
Francis. Daniel. Cheeseburger. Guys, on that lovely, lovely note, that's our show. Thank you guys so much for coming up. Give it up one more time for our amazing lineup of storytellers. Give it up for Bridget New York, for the first here. Devin from Engine House. First of all, give it up for Lauren, our tech wizard, for being with us from the beginning. I've been your host, Grant.